I call the honourable member Joe Goodhue.
Mr. Chair.
Now put.
I'll hear from the honourable member Carol Beaumont.
Mr. Chair, that is very appreciated, and I rise to speak on the Taxation Annual Rates and Budget Measures Bill. And can I say I am very pleased to follow my colleague Stuart Nash. I think Stuart Nash has been making outstanding contributions on this debate, and he has, I think, enlightened a lot of New Zealanders on issues to do with our tax system, and I think that's very important. Now, of course, part one is about our current tax system, and I want to make some comments following Mr Nash's comments, and perhaps ask the Leave of the House to allow Mr Nash to make some more comments, because I think he's done an exceptional job in enlightening New Zealand on how unfair our current tax system is. And that's been a deliberate decision of this national government to create a less fair tax system. So let's be clear what we're talking about here. We're talking about rates that have been changed so that those top 10% of earners in New Zealand have had significant tax cuts. Tax cuts that they do not need, tax cuts that have not actually benefited our economy, because over this side of the House we do not believe in the trickle-down effect that side of the House seems to be so reliant upon. We do not believe that just because you give those at the top more money in their pockets that they will spend that in a productive way that assists the economy. We believe that the people who need tax assistance, or assistance from government I should say, are low and middle income New Zealanders. Now, as Mr Nash pointed out to us, the government tried to sell those tax cuts as being fiscally neutral, that it was a tax switch, I believe, a tax switch. Well, across the other side of the House, you must think that New Zealanders are very silly. I certainly don't, but you must think they are.
Order.
Sorry, sir, you of course do not. Oh, sorry. No, members across the other side of the House, however, do think that the public are silly. Clearly, if they think that the public believe this tax switch nonsense, because out there in the real world, low and middle income New Zealanders know that things cost them more, that they have effectively had to bear the cost of giving tax cuts to the wealthy by increasing GST, and it hasn't been fiscally neutral, so there is a hole in government finances. And in fact, I find it bizarre that people can, across the other side of the House, can go out there and talk about the reason for the deficit being the Christchurch earthquake and the global economic crisis. I mean, yes, of course, those are elements in it, but some of it was a deliberate decision of the government to cut their own revenue, to give tax cuts that were unfairly weighted to those at the top. So take responsibility for the deficit and don't ensure that the costs are all borne by low and middle income New Zealand. That's our message to you. Of course, that is not going to be listened to. But you are, across the other side of the House, members are out of touch if they think that New Zealanders buy the fact that this is nothing to do with the government. Deficit is nothing to do with the government. People do not buy that. They do not buy the tax switch notion. And I really liked the description that my colleague Stuart Nash gave of the importance of the tax system being about taxing to do good. Tax is effectively the income that government gets to do things. And unfortunately for all of us, this budget is another do-nothing budget in terms of rebuilding our economy. If members opposite, if we all looked at what was needed to grow our economy, we wouldn't see things like cuts in investment in industry training and skills development. It is an absolute outrage that in this country we are not investing in our people so that they have the opportunity to get a job, that they have the opportunity to get a better paid job, that they have the opportunity to keep a job and have greater job security. It is an absolute outrage that we are not investing in our people so they can be more productive at work and we can transform our workplaces into better more effective, more productive workplaces that provide the goods and services that this country needs. And it's an absolute outrage that across the other side of the House there's some view that government have no responsibility for growth, for stimulus, for other things that will lead to jobs.
I call the honourable member